No. So do you guys know what the blood-brain barrier is? So the blood-brain barrier is basically why people like cocaine and sugar, because your brain has or over time, our brains adapted and evolved to have a very powerful defense mechanism. It's lumped together as this blood-brain barrier. What it means is most things that you ingest will not get to the brain. There's a barrier there that keeps it from penetrating through. Cocaine and stuff like that. I think ecstasy is one. Where is Herman? But those things, people love them because they go right to the brain and they tweak your brain and you like feel like whoosh, alive. Sugar also does that, which is why some people want to categorize sugar as like a drug. If you give a whole bunch of kids Coca-Cola all the time when they're 7 years old, they're going to be freaking hyped up in school. And then if you give them ADD medication to counter the Coca-Cola, you create this crazy cycle. Well, that's the physical brain barrier, blood-brain barrier, but I believe there's a figurative or mental similar kind of reaction that happens. And so most people, you can't penetrate through that. And that's why I was trying to talk about that Steven Spielberg thing. He controls that barrier, and where most people don't learn anything, he's already learning. The blood-brain barrier over most of us is pride. It really is. In pride in action. So I hope everybody, one of the things you'll do in the 2 days you're here is try to attack that part of yourself. And you'll always, you know when you go to a horror movie? Who here likes horror? Okay, who here doesn't like horror but goes and still gets scared? Honestly. Because I went to the first Paranormal Activity. I hate horror movies. But I went, it was hilarious because I was just like, I don't even want to watch this movie. I'm going to watch the people. And there was these bodybuilder dudes right in front of me. It was at the ArcLight. And at one of those scenes, one of those dudes, still haven't figured out which one, I couldn't figure it, he screamed like a woman. Like, ah! Like that. And he grabbed his, and then he went right back. In fact, show him that, my favorite cop taser. This is how this dude was. The thing is, everybody here knows you shouldn't be scared, but we're built to react to whatever we see. Does that make sense? So no matter that you know Jason or Halloween isn't real or paranormal isn't real, you're still built to jump a little bit. And so that you can't really ever fully overcome it to the point where you're cured. You'll always be susceptible to scary movies. In fact, one point in my life, I was having the craziest dreams. I'm talking just waking up and being like, what the hell kind of dream? You know when you don't sleep at all, but you were asleep for 8 hours, but you do not feel rested? I just woke up all traumatized. And I realized I was reading all these Stephen King novels. Do not read that before you go to bed. I cut that out, and right away the dreams went away. But that is the brain natural inclination, to believe what you read, to believe what you see. In the same way, as I said here, kind of close up tonight, one of the goals, if you want to walk away an investor, is to find one area where you're proud and then cut it away. And you cut it away simply. It can be a simple action. I always say, whoever reads the most in the room, or reads the least in the room, to me, I always start, that's the most proud guy. That's my simple little metric. If Warren Buffett says, look, dude, to stay at the top of my game, I've just found I got to read 8 hours a day. I got to read 800 pages or else I will fall behind for my investors. What does that mean about all of us? So if Warren Buffett walks down this hall right here, and he comes sits here, and he's got the most money of all of us combined, You guys remember the Bible verse? I don't know if anybody here is religious, but it says, the meek will inherit the earth. You ever heard that? Anybody? The Beatitudes. Do you remember as a little kid being like, that ain't right? And you ever heard adults be like, that's not true, that's not really? No, that was right. It's the meek that inherit the earth. Bill Gates starts at 13, 12, 13. He's a freaking prodigy. He's a genius. He knows he's smarter than almost any person he meets. He identifies what's working in computers, what's not. He then goes, oh, over there's a dude. He makes a phone call. He's so young, he changes his voice like, yo, so the guy takes him seriously. He's like, I'll send you 50 grand. And the guy goes, okay, I'll sell it to you for 50 grand. And Bill Gates just buys DOS for $50,000. So many adults could have seen it, but I guarantee there was a lot of cocky entrepreneurs being like, no, I'll build it myself. Bill Gates was like, any means necessary to accomplish the end game goal, even because a lot of people say, oh, Bill Gates didn't even make DOS. No shit. He was humble enough to know no one's smart enough to know everything. So he just buys it from somebody else, says, I don't care if for the next 40 years everybody says I bought it, because for 17 of those years straight, I'll be the richest man in the world. They can say whatever. If I made any of you richest man in the world, how many blog posts would you care if they write about you? At the end of the day, Bill Gates, maybe he took the more humble path. He brought his way into it. But it was the humble path, and it works every time. So when I give these talks, people always ask me, best thing you've learned, this. It's hard to isolate it down to one because there's different facets of the same diamond. Your success, think of it like a diamond. You can look at it from lots of different angles. I try to vibe out the room. I try to also just say what's currently on my thought. And without a doubt, this concept of humility is almost always the missing factor. So who here, let's try this, read 150 books in 2015? Nonfiction. One. Who did 365? Okay, 0. Anybody? Okay, but I'm not going to ask myself. Okay, 1. Who did 150? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Maya. Brandon Carter. Okay. Who did 52? 1 a week. 52. Okay. Who did 25? If you did 52, I know you also did 25. Don't raise your hand twice. You keep raising for the rest of the time now. So use that as a quick gauge for yourself. There's many other gauges, but most people I find are pretty sure they know how to pull off life.